Hey, I'm Kate, Plastic-Free Mermaid, and we're here at the Unwrapped Conference put on by Upstream Solutions and Plastic Exposed, and I'm here with Dr. Jane Muncke.
Hello.
Hello, Managing Director at the Food Packaging Forum. Tell us about your presentation yesterday.
So I spoke about the different materials that we use to package food.
Yep.
We have food contact articles.
Okay.
It's a very big word, it's complicated, but those would be packaging materials.
Okay.
And they're made up of different materials and different chemicals. So food packaging actually isn't just one material. Like we say plastic, but plastic has a lid, so that's usually a different plastic material. It's got a label on it. The label's printed, and you've got glues to stick the label onto the plastic bottle. So you've got
inks in the label.
Exactly,
and,
yeah. So those
and
are
additives in the plastic lid.
exactly.
And,
but that's plastic. So you've got plastic, paper, adhesive, the glue, and the printing ink. So you'd have 4 different kinds of food contact materials
in your article.
in one food packaging type.
Okay.
And so I try to explain that. It's kind of technical. And that's all made up of chemicals. And that's what we really worry about, because those chemicals, they can transfer from the food packaging into the food. And for different packaging types, that transfer of chemicals is much more relevant. We have much bigger knowledge gaps. We don't know exactly what the chemicals are that we're eating. And for other materials, packaging types, we have less knowledge gaps, and we know exactly what the chemicals are that are transferring, and maybe not transferring at all. Very low levels, nothing to worry about.
So what should we worry about? What are some of the packaging articles that are transferring chemicals?
So for me, one of the biggest aha moments doing this work was to understand that plastic actually contains a lot of chemicals that no one knows. It's not just you and me or Uncle Jim. It's also the people that make the plastics and the people that put food into the plastic packaging. They don't know what the exact chemical composition is.
Right.
But those chemicals potentially can get into the food.
Okay.
And so by logic, you can't really say they're safe or not, because in order to say something's safe, you have to know what you're dealing with, right?
Right.
So that's one of the biggest concerns that I have. And
The unknown unknown.
Yeah, the known unknown.
The known unknown.
Known unknowns,
Okay.
exactly. And so you have that for a lot of materials. You have it for plastic, you have it for printing inks, you have it for adhesives, you have it for paper and board, you have it for coatings that are on cans,
Right.
on the inside.
On the inside. Okay.
Yes.
That used to be BPA, but now it's BPA free.
Yeah, exactly, BPA free. But whether BPA or BPA free, you still have a lot of unknown chemicals in there. And do you know why that is, sir?
Why?
Should I tell you?
Please.
Okay, so when you make plastic, it's a complex chemical reaction. You start with your monomer.
Right.
That's a small molecule that you get from fossil carbon production. And you put it into a reaction vessel, and you put reactive chemicals in there. Your goal is to make a polymer, right? That's the backbone of plastics.
Okay.
And the polymer consists of up to 10,000 repeats of your monomer. So it's like, think of a traffic jam and imagine the cars are all tied together on a strong rope. 10,000 cars tied together, that's your polymer.
Right.
Now what happens when you polymerize is not every polymer molecule makes it to 10,000 repeats. Some start reacting and adding onto each other, but then they stop. And so you get maybe 3 cars, 3 monomers that are hooked to each other, or 5 or 10. And those are what we call the oligomers. And they're present in your plastic as well. They have no function in there, but they're present. And because they're small molecules, they can get out of the plastic and they can get into your food.
Is this the non-intentionally added?
Exactly, that's part of the non-intentionally added.
Okay.
So the other non-intentionally added substances are substances that are impurities.
Okay.
So when you buy your monomer, you don't get like pure grade monomer, you get other stuff in there as well. Maybe 10% is other stuff, maybe more.
Wow.
Yeah.
And we don't know the effects of these on health.
Not for all of them, yeah.
Right, okay.
Yeah, so it's hard to generalize. For some you may, for some you won't.
This sort of information makes people uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So what are you excited about in the space of safer alternatives?
I like inert materials. So inert means materials that don't chemically interact with the food. And so that would be glass.
Yep.
And ceramics, be stainless steel, because it's not a coated metal.
Okay.
Other metals can be coated, like aluminum, for example, or even steel tin cans.
Coated with
With a coating that is based on, for example, bisphenol A or bisphenol A replacements, or there's a whole bunch of different coatings.
Right.
But it's always it's synthetic chemistry that they put on there, so you get this whole issue of non-intentionally added chemicals as well. I'm not saying that those materials, metals, or stainless steel, glass, and ceramics are perfect.
Right.
You have to be aware that there's no such thing as no migration. But those
chemical migration to its contents.
Yeah, exactly. But for those materials, we know what we're dealing with, and we can reduce levels of migration.
How?
So you can, for example, in the manufacture, you can choose your raw materials properly. You can manufacture them properly. You can make sure that you get rid of the impurities that you don't want in there.
Okay.
To a large extent.
So that's great to know, because then, for those of us shopping zero waste, bringing stainless steel containers or glass jars, trying to avoid maybe the food touching the lid of the glass jar if there is a white coating on top.
Yeah.
That feels safe. What about for these disposable, single use or getting food to go? Are there any safe alternatives or inert materials that you are excited about in that space?
Well, I live in Zurich in Switzerland.
Yep.
And we have a Asian delivery that brings food on a bicycle to your home. And
Even in winter?
even in winter, all year round.
Wow.
And they have a stainless steel tiffin container, and they you get it with a deposit. You pay a deposit, and the next time you order food from them, you give it back, exchange it. And I really like that. I think that's a great model. It's non-disposable, it's stainless steel, it doesn't leach. Of course, you can't put it in the microwave if you want to reheat your food, but
Scoop it out, put it in a pot on the stove.
Yeah, hard work doing that.
Burn some calories doing it. Get the saliva going in your mouth as it heats up and smells yummy.
Exactly.
Part of digestion.
Yeah.
Okay, so do you think Uber Eats could get on board with the reusable tiffins?
I would love it.
Oh, that'd be so great.
I think it would be awesome. I'm dreaming of maybe a regional or countrywide deposit scheme where different businesses use the same deposit scheme containers.
Right.
Like
Love
for the
that.
same category of food. And it's actually in practice in Germany already. The small local brands, they share bottles. It's called Deutsche Brunnen. You can look it up. German fountain translated.
German fountain.
And they share bottles that are owned by them it's like a co-op. All the small businesses own those bottles. They're all the same shape. And they're glass bottles. They're refillable, returnable, deposit.
Smart glass, do they break?
I don't know if they've got the smart glass yet, but that would be a good option for them. And how they differentiate their products is they just slap different labels on them.
Right, okay. So it's interesting that there isn't, you're not excited about any kind of single-use packaging. There's no material that you're like, oh yes, this is the thing, because for the pathway to away from single-use plastics or single-use paper that contain non-intentionally added substances or PFAS or whatever, it's really just don't create single-use items. It's really don't use disposable packaging. Instead, it's reusable.
So I think
which feels like a more systemic change.
It would be a more systemic change, but I do acknowledge that in certain situations we do have to have single-use packaging, right?
Right.
So I think what we should make sure is that we have that packaging really thoroughly tested toxicologically. And here I'm talking about two important things. One, we should not only look at the chemicals that we use to make it, we should look at the finished packaging item and test the whole cocktail, the soup of stuff that migrates, that leaches from that packaging item. We need to test that toxicologically.
Okay.
And the other point is we have to use modern science to test it.
Right.
We shouldn't use tox tests that are 50 years old to test that. We should use modern stuff that is relevant, like things that will predict whether that cocktail of chemicals gives us diabetes, for example. We're not looking at that right now.
Are you guys doing these sort of testing, or who is doing this testing?
No, we're not doing it right now. And I think it would probably be fair to characterize it as work in progress.
Yes.
Having said that, there are better tests out there available already now, which we could use right now.
Okay.
That would be better than what we're actually doing right now.
Who are performing those tests?
Bunch of labs, bunch of academics, contract labs.
Okay.
I can't.
So if there are people who are watching that have a material that they want to get tested, they could look up some of these labs in Europe and see if there are any US counterparts.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
And then where can people find out more about your work, or is there anything that you would like to plug?
So we have a website that has plenty of resources.
Great.
It's called foodpackagingforum.org. It's a mouthful.
Better in English than in German though for us.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and we have resources in English and in German and Spanish actually also.
Oh, great.
So go check it out. We have a free newsletter. You can sign up to that. It's published twice a month. We have webinars that are free. We do an annual workshop. You can join by coming to Zurich or by watching from your home via webcast.
Great.
It's on the 24th of October.
Okay.
So,
cool. Awesome. Thanks so much, Jane. Thank you.
Great job.
Thank you. Thanks, you guys. Definitely tune in, subscribe for more interviews from the Unwrapped Conference. Check it out, unwrappedconference.org.